Joker 2, or Deux, but I will be calling it Joker 2 for the duration of this review because I don't feel like saying Folie Deux in multiple times. Not because I can't, I'm gonna be honest with you, just full on laziness. This movie is directed by Todd Phillips. It picks up a year or two after the killing spree of the Joker, killing Murray on his TV show. And now he's in prison and he's going to trial for his killings. And he meets Harley Quinn, played by Lady Gaga, and they're creating a bond and they sing songs together. That is pretty much what is all that's happening here in this movie. It's not a lot happening here. A lot of people here is going to tell you that this is a musical. It's not a musical. It's a movie with music videos attached to it. Because in a musical, the musical aspects of it helps propel the story. So after a musical number, you continue on in the story, whereas in this one, you will be in the middle of the story. The movie will just kind of stop and halt itself to go into the mind of Arthur Fleck, aka the Joker here. So this way he can do this big musical number, and then it will just kind of return back to where it left off, and then the movie will continue. It's extremely weird. Every genre of movie utilizes a particular piece that helps drive the story. In an action movie, the action drives the story. In a romance, it's two people meeting each other and growing a bond and loving each other, which is what drives the movie. In a comedy, the jokes drive the movie. In a horror, the scary elements, the jump scares, and the deaths drives the movie. In this movie, the only thing driving it is really just the Joker. And that's why I wasn't a huge fan of the first Joker, is because kind of like this movie, if the Joker's not involved, the movie kind of doesn't spend that much time with it. It doesn't dive deep into anything besides our titular character, which is Arthur. It doesn't go any further than it's just a part of Arthur's life. That's the only reason why you are knowing about it. If Arthur ain't experiencing it, if it's not have something to do with Arthur, then you're not experiencing it. It's not really a thing that's happening. It's only happening if it evolves or revolves around Arthur. And that is the same thing here. Arthur is why these musical numbers are happening. And they're not adding to the story. They're not even adding to the fantastical elements of Arthur and his mental instability. And those music numbers are... This movie is getting shitted on. I liked it for the most part, but watching it, I kind of understood why it's getting shitted on. This music numbers, and there's a lot of music numbers here, but the music numbers are annoying because there is a movie happening. Like I said, because the music numbers aren't propelling the actual story, it's just to bring us into the mind of Arthur. It's not really propelling the overall plot and story going on here. They get really annoying when they pop up, and they pop up a lot, and they kind of halt the pacing of this movie. You will be watching this movie going, oh, I kind of like where this is going. This is pretty, why is people singing? Is this in any way, at least portions of this happening in real life? And then it'll show, this was all just in Arthur's head. It doesn't affect anyone else in this movie, but this is just what's happening in Arthur's head at this moment in time. It doesn't affect this person or that person or the story or the world or anything, really. It's just what's happening in Arthur's head, and that's what's happening now. And that's why you just really sit there perplexed by the movie while you're watching it, because there's these musical numbers that's a big portion of this movie just doesn't go with anything. It kind of feels like it's holding you hostage. Like, if you want to watch this movie, you gonna listen to Lady Gaga and Joel and Joaquin Phoenix sing, you gonna listen to them sing. And you're like, okay, fine. I wanna see this movie because this movie looks beautiful. This movie is great, cinematography wise, and how Todd Phillips paint a lot of these pictures going on here. and the colors and the lights and everything is fantastic. That is one thing that I've always gave applaudance to the first Joker. Even though I didn't really love it, I kind of liked it. But that's one of the things that I truly did admire about it was the way it looked, in the music score, in the performances of Joaquin Phoenix. That's those are the three elements of those movies that I think everyone who watched them, whether you love or hate that movie, we can all agree are fantastic. The movie looks great, the movie sounds great, and Joaquin's performance is great, and that's all the same good things here. The movie looks good, the movie sounds good when it's doing its score, and Joaquin Phoenix and all the actors here are fantastic. They're putting on a great performance. It's just the same thing, the same problems with the first movie kind of comes in to this movie, where if we're going to go into the story element and the overall world that Arthur is in, we're not really going to dive deeper other than this is how this affects Arthur at this particular moment in time. But we're not going to go deeper into studying who or what this world is or who Arthur is. It's kind of just Arthur lives in bad world driving Arthur crazy. Arthur goes crazy, turns Joker, goes killing people. Arthur now in jail from killing people, and he's now been turned into a celebrity. He's turned his Joker moniker into a cult, and now there's people that celebrate him, and there's TV movies about him, and Lady Gaga's here now as Harley Quinn, and she's obsessed with him because I guess she's like a depressed, lonely, quirky girl who fell in love with him because he did something that caused him to get recognized and to be seen and to be heard. They sort of fall in love. They have sex at a prison. I didn't even know that was possible. This is the 80s or the 70s. Maybe that was possible. You can just walk into a prison and have sex with someone who's in holding or in the fucking who's been put in a hole by the prison guards. Maybe that is a thing. I don't know. Maybe that was a thing. Maybe that still is a thing. I don't know. I've never been to prison. I don't know anything about prisons. And these are things that you're kind of intrigued by, but they don't really do much with it because they've set up so much about this character in these musical numbers in this world. These musical numbers here are really really bogging down this character study that we have going on here. Todd Phillips is trying to be ambitious. You're your filmmaker, you're artiste, some might say. You want to bring something new, something imaginary, a breath air to the screen that people are going to watch. This is a blockbuster movie, and you want to give them something that they can really chew on, and they can go, oh, that's something different and new I never thought I needed. And you didn't need it. You still don't need it. I don't like musicals, so I kind of dread it this day. But like I said, this movie's not a musical. I think if it was a musical, even though I don't really like musicals, I think I would have liked it more if it was just a regular musical than this hodgepodge of dark character study in musical elements that just sort of flash in ever so often to really break it up. I think I would have respected it more and liked it more. It's very, very, what do you call it, discombobulating while you're watching the film that there's people just singing songs that already exist, and the music and the songs are sort of combining and clashing with each other because the movie gets super loud, but yet people sing super low and like somberish and monotoned. It becomes a clashing of everything. This movie is just such a clashing of different things happening on screen that it doesn't make anything truly a cohesive narrative that you can really sink your teeth into. It's just sort of fighting each other on who's going to be the one to capture the audience. And nothing really does besides Joaquin Phoenix. He's the only thing that captures the audience. And Lady Gaga, the acting is really what captures the audience, and the way the movie looks really captures the audience, but every other element around it is still fighting to this day. Everyone else has left. They're still fighting. It's like that scene in a movie or a cartoon where two people start fighting over somebody for their attention, and then by the time they're done fighting and they look over, everybody's gone. Or at least the person that they were fighting over have left because they're just over it all. That's what this movie is. It's a combination of elements of filmmaking, fighting, and then by the time it looks at you and go, huh, how do you like it? We're all out of the theater and we're telling everybody don't go see it. That you've messed up. You've made a terrible decision. And when it comes to the ending, I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with that ending, but I do think when it comes to the character of Arthur and how in the thematic usage of Arthur in this world, I do think this is a proper ending for him. I think the ending works well for what they were trying to utilize him to say and do here. You know, he's like this larger than life guy utilizing this imaginary world and musical set pieces to sort of not think about the real world consequences of his violent actions. And when it's his time and he tries to go back into that world, no, this is the real, this is what happens when those violent things are actually happening. This is what it feels like, and you have to sit in there. So I really like how they ended his story arc and what they were doing here. But thematically for Arthur's character, I do think it's the perfect way to end his character off by just killing him. I don't know why I'm running around it. I don't care for spoilers in these reviews. I try not to spoil a lot of them, but I'm just starting to stop caring. Fuck these spoilers. Spoilers, nigga. The nigga gets shanked to death. Like a real nigga on the yard. Straight up. Just like I said, I liked it enough. I didn't hate it. I will say that I did not hate this movie. I think I kind of liked it for the most part, especially that first act. I liked it was very coherent, but it does become a little bit too what do you call it? It becomes a little bit too much of a cycle. It just keep doing the same thing over, repeating itself. There it is. It just keeps repeating itself, and it becomes monotonous, and you do get kind of bored, and it becomes a little dull the longer it goes on, and then it kind of becomes undull again towards the second half, and you're like, oh wow, bold choices. Okay, I like this. I like how this went. So gets you good in the first half, really bores you in the second half, and then depending on who you are and what you like, I think for me it kind of did raise itself back up a little bit in the third half. So if I was to rate Joker 2, not saying the duh, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10, man. I think it's perfectly average. Just a perfectly average movie that anyone can watch. Well, I don't say anyone can watch it. Actually, most people who watch it are probably gonna hate it. But hey, that's just my opinion. You can have a whole different one. So if you agree, leave a like. If you disagree, subscribe. Because, as I always say, I have a lot of opinions. We're not going to always agree, but there may be things we will agree on, so you need to subscribe so when we do agree, you can be here for that day. Maybe this is that day. And if we're twinning, like you're like, oh no, this guy got it right. I like everything going on here. You already know what to do. Like and subscribe. And if you just like what I'm doing here and you want to support it, well then subscribe. Thank you for watching, and as always, good and bye.